Hello and welcome to the Critically Clueless. I'm the Monk, and today we are in Disciples Liberation. This video is a bit different from the other videos. This is all about a build guide for the Warlord slash Dawnlord within the game. And these are the steps that I would take in order to build my character as I go up through the game. And if you want to see more videos on Disciples Liberation, maybe consider hitting that like button and of course subscribing to the channel. That way you get notified when I upload more just like this. So let's take a look at the first ability we get, which is actually Piercing Strike. So you deal physical damage, and Piercing Strike ignores 50% of physical resistance. It also inflicts Curse on a target. Now, Curse is quite good because it means that that unit receives a reduction in health that it gains from everyone else. And as we know, the early game, we always get so many units being healed after we bloody already hit them. So it's actually quite nice. The next ability has a 4-round cooldown, so you're probably only going to be using it once within the battle, and you attack the area around Aviana. It deals divine damage to enemies and inflicts taunt on them as well, meaning they have to attack you. It also grants Inspired to any allies around the area. And of course, we also get a passive ability. Passive ability is quite often just completely forgotten about, as it never really pops up too many times. But this passive ability grants physical protection and physical might to all allies within a 2-tile area of Aviana, but it also grants Aviana as a melee unit Thorns, which is absolutely brilliant. Basically, you plow her into the battlefield, and any damage she receives from adjacent enemies receive 50% of that damage dealt back to them. It can be so powerful. Okie dokie, so that's the basics. Now let's get into the build. Now, as you can see, I am currently level 54 making this video. So this is from ground up, I would say, till mid to almost a late game build. Now, if you are playing as a Warlord, especially at the beginning of the game, going into mid-game, I would honestly focus all energy into the combat tree. Now, you are fully welcome to put points into the Nephilim and the magic tree as well. Bear in mind, the top tier stuff within the magic side is going to be locked out to you completely. But you are still going to be able to get the 30 points in Nephilim if you wanted Twilight Pulse. However, for me, I would just focus on your combat tree, because Second Wind is your main ability that you can get in a combat tree. And if you're going to play as a melee character, you might as well play as a melee character. The first ones I'd probably put points into is Hardy. Now, the first 2 points I would pop into Hardy. That gives you a base 10% bonus to all health of Aviana. The second one I'd look at is Flanking Master. Now, personally, I like to pop 5 points straight into that. The first point will give you a 4% damage increase when flanking. That's all units, not just Aviana herself. This will increase up to 20%. After that, you've got Critical Mastery. Again, crits in this game are very overpowered. The more percentage chance you've got of actually hitting a crit, the better. Putting 5 points into that will boost you up 25%. But if you don't want to just put points into that, you could always put points into Initiative Mastery. This is very good because if you don't have any, if you don't spend all your AP, you will get extra initiative for the next round, meaning you're more likely to be further up that queue of combat. But once you have got your first 10 points in combat, you will get Wanted. And so when Aviana lands a critical hit, which by the way we've already boosted, that target will get marked for 2 rounds, and therefore we will be doing 10% more damage. Now, once you pop the 10 points in, you actually get something very interesting open up, and that's the first 4 boxes. Undead Warfare, for instance, or the Empire Warfare. Here, I wouldn't suggest taking them all, but you can pick which ones you like the look of. These are the moves of the characters that you're going to be having in your army. Like, for instance, the Feral Elf Assassin. You get his ability, Shadow Blade. Or the mighty roar ability of the Were-Leopard. You get them added as martial spells as opposed to using magic. So you actually get the unit's abilities. So have a little look, see at which one you like the most, and I would pick that one. Just keep in mind that you can only have a certain number of these spells equipped at any one time, along with whatever magic you've actually managed to pick up. Another one I like to put points into is Monster Slayer. Now, you don't have to do this right now. I would suggest doing it just before you hit the 25 point mark. Basically, you deal an extra 10% damage to beast, dragons, and giants. And the reason we want that is because above that, that will lead on to Blood of the Werewolf, meaning Aviana will get regen. So we want that for later. One point I do like to spend as early as I can, however, is Flaming Burst Weapon. If you get this, it will inflict bleeding on enemies for 3 rounds. And if it's a critical, you'll actually end up dealing primal damage to them as well. I think one of the best things about having a melee unit within this game is that you really do manage to deal so many different status effects on your enemies. And again, something that I don't think I could live without when playing this way is Iron Will, because basically it means Aviana becomes immune to taunt. It's so needed to be able to actually do what you want when you play as Aviana. She becomes so overpowered, especially if you're playing as a melee character. You need her to be able to use her abilities when she wants to be able to use them. So having immunity to taunt is very important. And equally, it can be very annoying for the opponent if you have Taunting Strike, meaning anyone you hit actually becomes taunted and is forced to fight Aviana. The next load of points I would consider putting points into for me is the Vampiric Might. Now, it starts at 5%, but basically you regain HP when you inflict damage on an opponent. You also inflict a bleed as well. And you can get as much as 25% of your damage back as health. And of course, once you put the 25 points into combat, you get access to the top tier abilities in this tree. You do also get another passive ability, which is a -1 to cooldown effect on her second ability. I don't find this too good personally, because I do like my fights to be over and done with before I get a second chance to get that. But I would grab up Blood of the Werewolf, giving you regen, as I mentioned earlier. So next up, we have 3 last abilities to get. The first off is Vengeance. Now, personally, I don't find this very useful, because even if this was early game, it would make sense. But basically, if you defeat an enemy and their value, as in leadership value, is more than half of your total leadership, you'll gain physical might, quickness, and inspired. However, I don't see it happening too often. Again, like I said, maybe very early game, but you would have to target this, and it's only going to be useful for a tiny little bit. Next up, we have Berserk. Now, if Aviana's HP drops below 50%, all conditions impairing her movement are removed, which is quite nice, and Aviana gains agile and strong. Now, again, personally, I don't actually find this terribly useful, because it's very rare that I actually get that low. However, one that I do like a lot is Eye for an Eye, and that's every time Aviana is hit by a critical attack from an adjacent enemy, she will strike back, and her counterattack will always be critical. So they're the ones that I would 100% put points into. And after that, kind of have a look around and see what you may want to pop into just to get you up to that 40 mark. I quite like doing Holy Warrior and Hatred as well, just for the extra 10% power boost. But once you pop your 40 points in, you'll get Second Wind, which means the first time that Aviana is defeated and killed in battle, she will come back with 50% health. Now, a lot of the times I will actually use a crystal to get a second wind. So it's quite nice to have an ability, meaning I don't need that crystal, meaning I can use something else there for a power boost for Aviana instead. And after you put those 40 points in, you are going to be mid-game, edging into your end game. And you do have a few choices here into what trees you pop your last few points into. Now, you could obviously grab up your tier 2 spells on the Divine, Primal, and Unholy. I personally would do this. I think there's some pretty good level 2 spells that you can pick up. Bear in mind that you are going to be cut out from the, the higher, more powerful ones. But an ability I would absolutely put points into is teamwork. This can be great for everyone within your army. It boosts up the basic power and resistances by up to 10% if you are standing next to one of your allies. It will actually come up with teamwork when you are standing next to one of your allies, and you can see that power increase you'll get. And likewise, put in a point into Twilight Initiate to give you that tier 2 spells can be quite useful. There are spells you can get, but remember, you possibly already got a load of spells in your Martial spell tree line. And remember, you can actually only have so many spells equipped at one time. But I think for me, I would concentrate my points, my last few points in Nephilim, to try and get Twilight Pulse. Getting level 70, 80 in this game is totally possible. I think it's more likely to happen in your second playthrough. Of course, you could split some points from combat into Nephilim to make that happen, but it really isn't a top priority for me personally when I play my melee build. But that is it. That is my build for a Warlord going into a Dawnlord at level 54. And of course, when you hit confirm, you can see all of your martial spells popping up on the side of your screen. So make sure you actually go into your spellbook and equip them. The last thing you want to do is run into a fight, realize you've got nothing equipped, and possibly lose not having saved what you've just done. There are, of course, some very, very nice martial spells here. It's been a lot of fun actually using them. I think my very first playthrough, I played through as a magic user, so I wasn't aware of any of these martial skills. So it's been quite fun doing a playthrough as a melee character and testing a few of these out, because obviously we've seen them and used them being our units and against us. So it's quite nice to actually have the ability to use these as well. But guys, that is it for the end of this video. If you have any questions whatsoever, maybe you build your character a little bit differently, comment down below. I'll make sure that I comment back. It's be very interesting to see what you guys do with your character that maybe I didn't do with mine, or at least the order in which you do it anyway. And of course, don't forget, we do actually have an active Discord as well for anyone interested in Disciples Liberation. Maybe you want to get some PvP happening. Maybe you have some questions and you just want a general chat. Feel free to join. The link will be down below. But until next time, guys, I have been the Monk and we've been Critically Clueless.